What's good, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, and welcome if you're new. Today we're going over how to start a plant-based diet, but not only start it, maintain it. I feel like it's one of those things that is easy to hop on the trend or just fall into the habit for a couple weeks or so. But if it's a change you know you want to make for the long term, maintenance is a skill set in itself. And today we're going over all things related to that. And as somebody who's lived the lifestyle themselves for almost 7 years now, I'm going to be drawing on a lot of my personal experience, things that I've learned along the way, and maybe things that I wish I would have knew before I started that would have made the transition and the maintenance a lot easier. But before we get into all that, if you're here, if you enjoy the vibes, be sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, tap in with the tribe, hit the bell so you get notified every time I upload. There's a lot more vibes on the way, and I'd love to have you guys here. So I'll start by saying that this video is in no way intending to try and push this lifestyle on anybody who is not open to it, trying to shame anybody who's not on the lifestyle. I don't operate that way, and it's not really about that. Wellness can look a lot of different ways. This is what I chose for me, and this is what's resonated with me, and I choose to share that here for anybody else who might be looking to do something similar. Whether that's going fully plant-based, whether that's incorporating more plant-forward meals in your life, or whether it's just approaching your life in a different way for more balance, a holistic approach, what have you. It's also not intended to replace any formal medical advice or anything like that. I know once we start talking about wellness and diets and things of that nature, it can spill over into the conversations of, health ailments, healing illnesses. Everybody's different, and it'd be really hard for me to say what would work for one person as opposed to another. The steps that I'm outlining today are more general, overarching, and philosophical that can just help you approach it in a way that you can ultimately turn it into something sustainable for yourself. So in preparing for this video and figuring out how I wanted to convey these ideas to you, I had to reverse engineer my own journey, so to speak, and think about what the process actually was like. And I found that this process all takes place within 4 stages. 1 being the initiation phase, 2 the application phase, 3 the adjustment phase, and 4 the snowball phase. They all have their steps individually, and we're gonna go through them all right now. Stage number 1, initiation. And what this means is exactly that. You're being initiated into the lifestyle. You become open to it, you've decided you want to take that step for yourself, and thus begins the initiation. And where I think this all starts as far as initiating your new lifestyle and building something long-standing, sustainable, and fulfilling would be a mindset shift and finding your why. How we eat and how we take care of ourselves have been deeply conditioned from birth. So you're essentially undoing all that and learning how to do it over again at a later stage in your life, which is definitely not a bad thing, but it comes with its own challenges. So in a way, you kind of have to forget everything you know about food, how to nourish yourself, what your new regimen of care is gonna look like, and that you're kind of breaking out of the status quo as it pertains to the norms around food and health and perspectives in that area. Things are gonna be different, things might be a little uncomfortable, and these are just things that you're gonna have to come to grips with up front going into it, just so later on you know why you're doing it and you can persist through those difficult times. And don't get me wrong, this is not like a painful or terrible experience, but it does require some reworking of some ideas. It requires some adjustments, which obviously we'll get to later. Part of this initiatory phase is finding your why. Why do you want to go plant-based? Why do you want to change your lifestyle? What is the motivation? I know particularly for plant-based diets or vegan diets, the motivators can fall under one of 3 categories, or more than one even, which is health, environmental, or ethical. Health being just your own personal health, your own well-being as an individual. Environmental being you want to lessen your carbon footprint, you want to impact the environment more positively, reduce waste, lean more towards sustainability, and sometimes that could look like adopting a plant-based diet. And then you have the ethical, which would be more geared towards just compassion for animals and other living creatures. You don't want to intentionally harm, consume, exploit any of the other sentient beings, which is a huge driver for people as well. But it's important to dial in on this because when the challenges do come up, as we're going to talk about later, you can always revert back to why you started in the first place. And in some ways that has to matter a bit more than your temporary discomfort when you're starting out, because there might be times where there are not a lot of options for you at a restaurant and you're with your friends and you might feel left out, or maybe sometimes your family doesn't support these things, or sometimes you have to allocate extra time and energy to making sure that your needs are met so that your goals don't fall off track. That, coupled with everything else that we deal with in life, it could just add another thing to your plate, which can sometimes be overwhelming. But understanding why you started and what you want to achieve for yourself has to matter more. So when you're feeling discouraged, or you're feeling overwhelmed, or you're feeling like you just don't want to do it anymore, remembering why you started in the first place can be a good way to just bring you back to center and keep you on your path. Part 2 of this initiatory phase, I would say, is to do your research. Once you've made the decision to switch your lifestyle, once you've made that mindset shift, once you've found the reason why you're starting to begin with, then you got to start crunching the numbers, so to speak, finding examples of ways that you want to live, and sort of just like inundating yourself, consuming yourself with the information and the essence of what it is that you want to create for yourself. And now, what does this look like? Look up what plant-based diets do. Look up how they might fit into your lifestyle. I know for me, when I started out, I was a college athlete at the time. Just knowing that I was making a huge change to my diet while also having to perform at such a high level, I know how those two go hand in hand, and I knew that if I was gonna do it, I needed to find examples of people that were doing it already so that I could have some sort of reference point as to how to eat, how it fits within my lifestyle, and just like what it looks like. Just wanna have a reference point. So the same goes for you, whether you're an athlete or a super active person or somebody who isn't, or you have certain health goals or certain fitness goals, think about your lifestyle that you live already. Think about how you wanna maintain that through your plant-based journey, and then try and look for real world examples. There are so many people out there online now that live the plant-based lifestyle, but do it in all different kinds of ways. So I think there's somebody for everybody out there. That's what I did. I just started following a bunch of people online, looking up a bunch of YouTube videos for recipes and how people actually integrated it into their everyday lives, like with, what I eat in the days and all these things. So look at all those things. Look at how it integrates into everyday life. Look at how you might get your nutrition from different sources. Look at how you might want to experience this for yourself, and just begin to craft that vision, so to speak. Craft the idea, set the intention. This is what's going to help you get over that initial hump of just having to do the legwork, of just trying to understand what you're getting yourself into. And all this will help carry you over into the next part of this initiatory phase, which would be the copycat phase. Once you've shifted your mindset, once you found your why, once you've done a bit of research and understand how you wanted to go about this lifestyle for yourself, now it's just time to start emulating. It's time to start imitating. It's time to start copycatting people. Because at the beginning, you only know so much, but you want to get started and you have to start somewhere. So just start copying people. Look at people who are living the lifestyle you want to live. Look at people who are doing it how you would want to do it, and copy them. Make all the stuff that they're making. Go about your life the way that they're approaching it. Integrate the way that they're integrating. And this phase is huge because it just gets the ball rolling. It gets you in the habit, it gets you in the practice. And after enough copycatting, enough emulating, you'll start to develop your own personal taste. And that leads into the second phase, the application phase. The application phase is huge because that's exactly what you get to do. You get to apply all the things that you've been soaking in, apply the idea that you've been crafting, and this is where sort of the real work begins. But the biggest thing that you're gonna have to adopt when taking on this lifestyle is learning how to cook. It's absolutely essential. Like, there's no getting around it. Like, you're gonna have to learn how to cook some things. You don't have to be a master chef by any means. You don't have to be a crazy culinist. You just got to be able to know how to cook the things that you know that you like and that will help you sustain the lifestyle overall. Find maybe like 3 to 5 dishes that you know you like and you can make really well. Have that just be your foundation. And this phase was interesting for me because I had never cooked before I went plant-based, but I knew I wanted to sustain the lifestyle for myself, and I knew I wanted to eat well and eat the things that I knew I enjoyed and customize it for me. And this particular phase I feel is really eye-opening because you get to understand what ingredients are out there, how things work together, how many forms they can take on, and truly just how abundant plant-forward eating can be. I know for me initially I thought that eating this way would be really restrictive, or I would be missing out on a lot in the name of just trying to be healthier, but that really isn't the case at all. And in fact, I found it's just the opposite. I've gotten introduced to more foods, more recipes, more ways of eating than I was ever open to before, and being able to be hands-on with that approach and actually make the food that I like in a form that's healthier, that makes me feel good, it's really transformative, if I'm honest. And with all that cooking comes the next part of this phase, which is preparation. As fun and as practical and as needed cooking is, cooking can be really involved. It could take a lot of time, and we don't always have that. So this is where preparation comes into play. First off, when it comes to having food in the house, I think this is a huge one. I think proximity is power, right? So it's important to have everything that you know you need and that you like around you in close proximity in the house. You got to stay stocked up on your favorite snacks, your favorite ingredients, all these things that will help you sustain it, because decision fatigue is a real thing. Like I said before, we're dealing with a lot of things in life. By the end of a long day or you're going through tough times, you're going to revert back to what's convenient and what's familiar and what feels good. This is where that preparation comes into play, in that you're surrounding yourself with everything that you know you need so that your goals meals don't suffer at the hands of some inconvenience. And this can all just really help mitigate stress around food, eating, and trying times. Another aspect of this preparation with cooking specifically would be how much you're actually cooking and when you're cooking. Obviously, meal prep is a thing, and that can be really useful depending on your goals, what you want to meet, hitting certain macros, things like that. There's also batch cooking, which is something that I do. You're making big batches of things throughout the week, and so there's certain components of your meals that are going to be made up already, but just in a bigger batch so they last longer. It's sort of the happy medium between like cooking for yourself every day and like a full-blown meal prep where everything's prepped and you don't have to cook it all. That's something that I do because I like variety. I like to try new things every day, so this kind of works for me, but I also don't want to, spend a ton of time every day cooking everything from scratch for every meal. And then the last part of this phase with your cooking, with your preparation, and just applying it, you're gonna develop your own rhythm. Like I said before, during the copycat phase, you're gonna get to experience a bit of contrast, but with finding your own rhythm, this is that, but just enhanced. Now you would have developed some of your preferences by now. You're applying some of your practices, you're putting it into action, and you're seeing how it tangibly integrates into your lifestyle. And then you get to build your routine, your rhythm, your life around that. Dedicate certain days to cooking certain meals. If you're trying to expand your palate, save recipes online and dedicate time to trying those out during the week. Make a concerted effort to go out and try restaurants in your area, and just continue to build out your ecosystem, your structure of the plant-based lifestyle. And all that application that we talked about can really start to take shape. So at this point, you've initiated the lifestyle, you've applied certain practices and tactics to make it stick, but with that comes a lot of adjustments, and that is our next phase, the adjustment phase. So the last part of the application phase was developing your own rhythm. You're building out your ecosystem, you're building out your bubble, you're building out your controlled environment. The first part of the adjustment phase will be learning how to operate outside of all of that. Having a mindset shift around how you're gonna be when you're outside of your normal routine. For instance, if you're traveling or you're going to somebody else's house to eat, or you're just out with friends who don't participate in the same lifestyle as you. When you're outside of your controlled environment, what are you gonna do? Let's say you're traveling to a new city that you haven't been vegan in before. You have to map out places where you know you wanna eat and that serve your needs. Look at the menu ahead of time. See what plant-based options they have. See how you might be able to customize a little dish. Ask for alternatives, like cooking in olive oil instead of butter. For me, when I go traveling, I use two main sources for mapping out where I'm gonna be eating. That's Happy Cow and TikTok. Happy Cow is just a vegan food app. You can be anywhere in the world. You can drop a pin. They'll tell you where all the vegan and plant-based friendly restaurants are in your immediate area. And they have them tiered by like fully vegan restaurants, fully vegetarian, plant-based options, and everything in between. The other is TikTok too. Literally typing in vegan food or plant-based food in whatever city you're going to. And that's more of like a live, real-time feedback on what that actually might look like for you. And I found that super useful when just gathering information on where I want to eat. When it comes to eating out with people who don't follow your same lifestyle, who aren't plant-based or who aren't fully vegan, number one, don't be afraid to advocate for yourself. You know what I mean? Just let them know like, hey, like there's not a lot of options for me at this selection of restaurants that we want to go to. Look up some that you know might service both the non-vegan and vegan people. And this is another part of it too. Like I don't feel like it's worth it to be missing out completely on every experience just because they don't service all your needs. This just takes having a little bit more ownership over your own experience. And again, like I said before, this all comes back to anchoring in your why. Why did you start to begin with? Will the small inconvenience be enough to derail your whole journey? And the last part of the adjustment phase, which I feel doesn't get talked about enough, is that your body will need time to adjust. Yes, on the whole, eating plant-based foods, less processed foods, more whole foods is better for you. But if it's something that your body is not necessarily used to doing on a consistent basis, then you can potentially have some sort of reactions. And especially if you're going cold turkey on this thing, that could intensify the process overall. The body has been conditioned to process food and to anticipate those sorts of things for fuel. And when you talk about eating more plant-based, when you talk about eating less processed, when you talk about eating whole foods, when you talk about eating like just overall healthier, that's a form of a detox coming out of those other forms of food. And detoxification is a bit of a buzzword now, but it's not always such a pretty process. This could look like bloating, this could look like a bit of digestive issues, this could lead to breakouts, ups and down in energy regulation. This is not guaranteed by any means, and the intensity of these can vary, but I think a lot of people early in their journey especially might feel some of these things or experience some of these things and think that something's wrong, and they jump ship and they revert back to what they were doing before. And it's not so much that there was something wrong, it was just the body adjusting, it was the body cleansing, it was the body recalibrating and reshaping to hold this new lifestyle that you've adopted for yourself. And obviously always check in with your medical professionals, have them guide you through the process if you're dealing with more sensitive medical issues. But overall, this isn't a bad thing. It's just the body doing its job to adjust to help you maintain what you started in the first place. So at this point, you've initiated into the new lifestyle, you've applied new practices, you've built out a structure for yourself, you've allowed all the adjustments to take place, you've taken necessary measures to sustain it for yourself, your body's adjusted, you know how to move outside of your controlled environment, you're anchored in why you started in the first place. And the last phase is the snowball phase. This is where all your efforts from all the phases before sort of compound on each other. And this is where you really get into the fine tuning of it all. Get more experimental with cooking and recipes, trying new things. Go deeper by introducing maybe some periodic detoxing or fasting. Really tuning into your body, listening, your body knowing what it needs now, and you follow the rhythm of that more than a prescribed method of eating or living. And that was something that was real for me because I didn't start this journey so explicitly, so to speak, in that like I knew I wanted to start a plant-based journey for health. It was more experimental. It was more to just like cultivate healing from a basketball injury that I was dealing with when I was playing in college. It was all to just try and get me back a bit faster. So it wasn't long before I felt those physical effects to where I knew like, okay, this is something that I could maybe implement some of the time. But trying to go back to eat animal products afterwards and seeing that my body totally rejected them, I felt sick, my stomach was in knots, let me know that this was something that my body actually wants from me. So I had to adhere to that. Also in this phase, I think it's important that you're also finding how you want to actually carve this out for yourself. Finding your version of perfect. The plant-based lifestyle, healthier eating, being fit, all these things are sort of marketed as like a one-size-fits-all, or that there's a right way to be doing something. Ultimately, there is no right way to go about this. So don't compare yourself to anybody. Look at what inspires you. Try it out for yourself. You're your own best test subject. So you're only gonna know if it works for you if you give it a shot yourself. And I wouldn't be so concerned with, getting bogged down with titles or labels if that feels stressful for you. At the end of the day, it is about you. Whether you're doing it for, health reasons, personal reasons, environmental, ethical, it starts and ends with you, with your decisions, with your choices, with your intentions. So keep it there. But yeah, the snowball phase is overall a fun phase because you become more comfortable, you know what works, what doesn't, you can fine tune, and then you get to see all the other wonderful places that this journey could take you and what it has to offer. So again, remember the 4 phases: initiation, application, adjustment, and snowball. I know for me, if I heard some of this stuff at the beginning of my journey, would have saved a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of stress. If you made it this far in the video, I appreciate you watching. I hope that some of this helps amplify your journey and helps assist you along the way. And again, yeah, just thanks for being here. So if you like this video, be sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe, tap in with the tribe, hit the bell so you know every time I upload. And we got more videos coming for you. Also, if you want to hear about more of some of my personal journey, plus some fire recipes, I do have a book, Tapped In Wellness. It's out anywhere you get books, on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, all that good stuff. Sort of just goes through my personal wellness philosophies, how I got to this place, how I've learned to maintain it, and what I've learned along the way. Plus there's a lot of good recipes in here too. It's something I'm really proud of. So if you're interested, you can check that out too. But yeah, thanks again for watching. I appreciate you all, and I'll catch you on the next one.